Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. So in this video just we are going to discuss regarding a very most important topic in nursing profession and especially for the student nurses and the nurse educators. The topic is lesson planning, because if you want to teach anything to the students, first of all as a teacher or as a student nurse, you must be ready with the content what you are going to teach to the students. So this topic is exclusively for the student nurses and for the nurse educators, those who are working in the institutes or those who are delivering health talk or lesson plan either in the hospital or in the college side. So what is lesson plan actually? Lesson plan is the instructor's roadmap, you can say. So the word is most important here. Roadmap in the sense it has two ends, starting point and the end point. So where you are starting and where you are going to end. It includes all of your objectives and the teaching methodology which you are going to use during your delivery of lecture, and at the end of the session what you are going to achieve. So these all collectively you can say that it is instructor's roadmap of what students need to learn and how it will be done effectively during the class time. So simply you understand here is it is a plan you must have before you start your lesson, and it has some objectives and it has some principles how to make this lesson plan and how to deliver it in order to achieve the learning objectives. So making an effective lesson plan takes time, dedication, and understanding of students' abilities and goals. So this is the vital area. So though you are making lesson plans, it must be at the level of the understanding of the students' abilities, and it must fulfill or achieve the goals at the end of the lesson. But it is always very difficult to make very effective lesson plans. Why? Because the high pressure world of education, it can be difficult to find the time to create inspiring lesson plans on your own. So one must sit dedicatively and spend time or quality time for the preparation of this lesson plan. So in order to make your lecture very effective. If you see the meaning of this lesson plan, it is a plan prepared by a teacher to teach a lesson in an organized manner. So it is, as I told you in the previous slide, it is a roadmap. So it gives you and it shows you the way where you should go and how you should go as a teacher, as a student nurse. Because even student nurse is also getting some assignments in the form of teaching practice when they are in student period. So it is important for them also to learn, because they are the future nurse educators. Either they are going to work in the hospital or they are going to work in the College of Nursing or the School of Nursing as a faculty. So in both areas, they need to understand how to deliver this teaching or how to deliver better or effective health talk to the individual person or to the group. So it is prepared by a teacher. It may be a student nurse or a nurse educator or experienced teacher to teach a lesson in an organized manner. It is a plan of action and calls for an understanding on the teacher's part about the students, knowledge and expertise about the topic being taught, and ability to use effective methods. So though you are planning your lesson plan very effectively, but the way you are presenting it or you are delivering it in the classroom during class time, it makes a lot of difference. So your lesson plan is well structured, well prepared, but if you fail to deliver it in an effective manner, then the objectives are not going to be achieved. And if you see the definition given by Lester, a lesson plan is actually a plan of action. It therefore includes the working philosophy of the teacher, her knowledge of philosophy, her information about and understanding of her pupils, her comprehension of the objectives of education, her knowledge of the material to be taught, and her ability to utilize effective methods. Such a lengthy definition given by Lester. So it is nothing but, again it repeats, it is a plan of action for the teachers or the student nurses. Therefore, It includes a working philosophy of the teacher, how the teacher is going to work during the class time, how she is going to execute the well-structured lesson plan, and her knowledge of philosophy or the wisdom of knowledge, how it is going to be interpreted, and her information about and understanding of her pupils, because the audience are the participants or the beneficiaries. As a student, those who are sitting in front of you during the lecture, one must understand or have the knowledge about each and every student sitting in front of the teacher, and her comprehension of the objectives of education, what learning objectives you have framed in order to deliver the lecture, and her knowledge of the material to be taught, because as a teacher, she or he must be very expertise in the topic which she or he is going to teach the students. Then her ability to utilize effective methods. So in order to deliver the well planned, well structured lesson plan, which teaching method you are going to adopt and deliver the teaching method, it is most important. And we have some purposes why the lesson plan should be made and why it is important, because it demands adequate consideration of goals and objectives, the selection of subject matter, the selection of teaching learning methods. So again, it talks about the roadmap only, how you are going to deliver a lecture, whether you have framed some objectives and the subject matter is, sometimes it is very hard to understand or very hard to teach. So how the teacher is going to make the lecture in an effective manner by choosing or adopting some different teaching methods as well as learning methods. It keeps the teacher on the track, ensures steady progress and a definite outcome of teaching and learning procedures. So it avoids the teacher from deviating from the topic, because if you have planned something in form of lesson plan, you're going to teach those things only. You're not going to deviate from the actual plan of action. So it is already ready with you and it is readily available with you. So if you plan for 45 minutes of lecture, so in between there is no deviation, because already you are prepared with the lesson plan, and it ensures that there is a steady progress and a definite outcome of teaching and learning procedures. And it helps the teacher in effective teaching. Why? Because already the teacher has planned what kind of teaching methodology the teacher is going to adopt and what kind of aviates for each and every subtopic or according to the learning outcomes the teacher is going to be used in the classroom during lecture time. And most importantly, it prevents waste. In terms of, it helps the teacher to carry out the teaching activity in a systematic and orderly fashion, because once you are ready with the lesson plan, your general objectives and specific objectives are already done, right? So there is no wasting of time, because the full energy or focus on only fulfilling or achieving the learning outcomes of that particular lesson only. So these are some of the purposes we have when we are making lesson planning for the students. And principles of lesson planning, yes, of course, we have some principles as well. The teacher should prepare a careful but flexible plan. Okay, so as I told you earlier, this is a well-structured area that we have to work out, because if you are working dedicatively and spending quality time on making this lesson plan, definitely it is going to be a fruitful lecture for each and every student who is attending your lesson. Okay, you can make a plan, but sometimes it is a flexible plan that you have to adjust with the plan, because sometimes you are planning for 45 minutes and it depends on the student's level of understanding. You're not able to complete the lesson within 45 minutes of time, so this can be extended to the next lecture as well. So somewhere it is flexible, that is for the student nurses or for the nurse educator, in order to achieve the learning objectives. And the second principle says the teacher should have mastery of an adequate training in the topic. So of course this is most important, because unless the teacher is not aware about or not having mastery of the content, he or she is not going to deliver an effective lecture. And the time the teacher takes to complete the lecture is going to be vain only, because the students are not going to understand if the teacher doesn't have mastery of content. And sometimes if the teacher is demonstrating any procedures, so adequate training is important, because the teacher has to repeat it for several times, number of times. And once she is well versed in the procedure, definitely with confidence she can teach the students as well. And another principle is the teacher must be fully conversant with the new methods and techniques of teaching nursing. So because in this era, at the present scenario, the students are not very much enthusiastic in lecture method, or sometimes even in discussion method also. So the newer technologies or the teaching methodologies or the pedagogies we have to adopt in order to stimulate the students' interest or to attract the attention towards your teaching. So new methods are always important, because every day something happening in science or advancement or technology. So that technology we have to adopt in even in nursing to teach the nursing students as well. So this may arouse interest in the students, and the students, yes, very well, they listen to the topic and they may understand the topic, and it may takes even less time also sometimes. So comparatively, when you teach the students by traditional method and teaching the students in using some technology or some devices, so this makes a lot of difference. Okay, the teacher must know his students thoroughly and organize the materials in a psychological rather than logical fashion. So before you start the lesson, it is most important that you should understand the students' psychological factors also. So how the mental state of the students during your lecture or before your lecture. So sometimes commonly we can say that before pre-lunch and the post-lunch sessions, always it is most important to plan your lectures. Usually during post-lunch sessions, the students mindset is always their mental state is somewhat, it is sleepy mood, or sometimes for the next 1 hour, maybe 2 to 3 p.m. is the hardest time. We can say that it is a very challenging time for the teachers to draw the attention towards their lecture, right? So you have to plan your lecture in such a way that the students are not getting bored, or they are not sleeping in the classrooms, or they are active in the classrooms, right? So for this only you need to adopt new technologies, though your topic is sometimes very boring or very difficult to understand. So you have to change your method of teaching and give some active game based learning in that scenario, that you can organize in the classroom during your lecture time, so that the students understand the topic without any hurdles, right? So psychological status of the student, it is most important before you proceed, because it is not only the intention of the teacher to complete the lesson, but you make sure that the learning objectives are achieved in terms of the students are understanding your topic, right? So the teacher must ensure active student participation. So there should not be one-way talk. Okay, so always the teacher ensure that you are including or involving the students in your teaching activities, right? So give some activities in the classroom related to the topic which you are teaching, right? Or just identify the area where the students are more interested. So you can turn towards that side, and just along with your subject matter, you move with the students and ensure that all the students are actively participating in the lecture. Since monotony is a defect, different teaching learning methods have to be employed while teaching. So this is most important, because nowadays everywhere it is going on. Even during pandemic, we all have adopted. um we had no other options, because we had to move further. We have to teach the students and we have to complete the syllabus. So we adopted different types of online method of teachings, and that aroused student interest among the students as well, and that gave better results also, right? So one of the advantage of the corona or the COVID pandemic, we can say that the teaching pedagogy or the method of teaching the students, it has been improved, or it has gone to the next level. It is an added advantage for the students as well as the teachers, because the students also now have become technologically advanced, because the students are able to operate their systems or the Android mobile phones or the latest features, and they started installing this different applications in order to attend the online classes and all those things, right? Okay, so these are some of the principles that one teacher should keep in mind before they make their lesson planning. We have some of the steps in lesson planning because it is a systematic way. We have seen in the previous slides, it is a systematic way of delivering the lecture. So what we should do is first we have to plan it. Once you get the topic, you just go through your content of the syllabus which is given to you, see the subtopics, and frame the time and how you're going to make it in terms of lesson planning, and that you have to see it. Okay, that comes under planning. Then preparation or introduction is once you have planned something, yes, this is the way, these are the methods I'm going to adopt it, or this may be the duration of my topic of presentation. Then you sit and prepare the content. Okay, so introduction and everything you are preparing, you're just moving ahead with the preparation of lesson planning. Then presentation. Once you are prepared, your learning objectives are ready, and the content is ready, you're just entering into the classroom, you are presenting it. Presentation in the sense, directly you're not introducing your topic to the students, you're just finding the topic, let the students say, let the student come out with a topic which you're going to present it. So in such a way, you're just introducing your topic, right? So presentation, during presentation, you must understand the ability of the students to cope up with the lecture and how long they can understand, because you should see that more than logical fashion, you should consider the psychological status of the students. Okay, that is most important. But at any point of time, you make sure that you're not deviating from the actual lesson plan you have planned. And the final step is recapitulation or closing stage. So here, most of the teachers, we fail to do this stage, or we skip this stage because we don't summarize the topic which we have presented, or we are not closing the session very properly. So what this stage says about your presentation is, once everything is done, once the presentation is done, you have to evaluate it. You have to ask some of the questions to the students randomly, and you have to summarize and you have to conclude your lesson of that particular day for the particular hour. If you have taken only for 30 minutes or 45 minutes, so at the end of the session, after evaluating your session by asking few questions to the students, then you can summarize your topic, what you have discussed so far. Okay, that is the proper closing of your presentation of the lecture. So we have 4 steps. One is planning, preparation or introduction, presentation, and recapitulation or closing stage. Now let us see the lesson plan format. So I told you that we have to prepare a well-structured lesson plan. So well-structured lesson plan should or must have these criteria. Okay, so these are some of the points should be mentioned in the front page once you make your lesson plan. So the lesson plan format is, the first page is always as usual how you make your assignments. For example, you're writing assignment on hypertension, like that. So lesson plan on so and so. So on the top you can mention your college name. If you're a MSc nursing student, you can mention your specialty also. Then the 3 common points where we mention in all the assignments, that is submitted by, submitted to, and submitted on. This may be the front page, and followed by next page will be this format, lesson plan on so and so, the topic you can write. So under which name of the teacher, here the teacher who is going to present the topic, and the subject, unit, topic of lesson, previous knowledge of students, method of teaching, resources, class, number of students, date and time, and duration. So these things should be mentioned very clearly. And the vital part of this lesson plan is general objectives and the specific objectives. So always you should make your general objectives first. How you make? Just for an example here, at the end of the lecture, the group will be able to understand about accidents and its prevention in children and apply this knowledge in their theory and practical curriculum. Here I have taken the example of one of the pediatric topic, that is accidents and its prevention in children. Okay, so this is my main heading or the core topic that I'm going to present in the classroom. So at the end of the lecture, the group I'm going to teach, more than 2 or 3 students, that is considered as a group, will be able to understand about accidents and its prevention. And we are not leaving in just like that. And they apply this knowledge in their theory and practical curriculum, because whatever you teach, it should come in practical. It should be, the students must be able to apply in their day-to-day activities. Then only it becomes very effective, or your learning objectives are going to be achieved. And followed by, you have specific objectives as well. So what are your specific objectives? The subtopics of your main heading. That is, at the end of the class, the group will be able to. So this sentence will be common for all the specific objectives, right? So below that you can mention, define accidents in children, enlist the types of accidents in children, list out the causes of accidents, discuss the preventive measures of common accidents in children, explain the first aid management of accidents in children. So here you can see I have not written at the end of the class the group will be able to for each and every subtopics specific objective. I have written only once because this is a common statement. It is applicable to all the specific objectives, right? And you see the terms which I have used: define, enlist, list out, discuss, and explain. So these are the words or the terms you should take it from Bloom's taxonomy of educational objectives, right? You can use different terms for this. There are many words: evaluate, justify, then describe, analyze. So there are so many words that you can pick up from this Bloom's taxonomy, which shows your specific objectives. There you can apply it. So this specific objectives will become a complete one, right? So general objectives and specific objectives, these are the learning objectives you are going to achieve. Just you are going to ensure that at the end of the class, these objectives are achieved or not. And this is the common format for making your lesson plan. So we have some of the columns here and some of the headings as well. One is serial number we have and the time. So you have to define the time for each and every specific objective. For example, if you are writing define accidents in children, so how long you are going to teach the definition? For 1 minute or 2 minutes, that has to be specified. Then the content, a specific objective you are writing. So here you should keep in mind that while you are writing specific objective, we should write in full. For example, at the end of the session, the group will be able to define accidents. Like that, you have to write the specific objective in a complete manner. So when you go to second objective, that is list down the types of accidents, you have to write again at the end of the session, the groups will be able to list down or list out the types of accidents. So this is a process of writing the specific objective even in the format, right? Then the next column is content. Content actually you're writing, for example, if you're writing about definition, you should write what is the definition of accidents. Teaching activity, what the teacher is going to do, teacher is going to teach or teacher is going to discuss. That is the action of teachers. Then student activity is they may listen to the lecture or they may ask doubts also, or they may actively involve in the teaching learning method in any other form. So any form that you can write it, and which AV aid you're going to use for those particular specific objective, because the AV aid cannot be the same for the entire session. For example, definition, you may use your Blackboard as an AV aid, or you can go for flashcards, or you may use your charts or poster, something else like that. So that has to be specified in the AV aids column. Evaluation. So evaluation only will show you whether your learning objectives achieved or not. So if your specific objectives define accidents, then evaluation you should write what is the definition of accidents, or in other terms you can write define accidents. Or if your specific objectives list down the causes of accidents, then evaluation must be what are the causes of accidents in children. So if these questions are answered by the students, which means your learning objectives are achieved, right? And your session was very successful, or you have very effectively delivered your lecture. Okay, that is the outcome of your study. And once you have done, you just see the bottom of this slide, you have to give assignment on the particular topic. And very importantly, you should mention the references from where you took this content, and you can give some of the reference books also, which is available in the library or which is available online, or any other mode of references you can give. Even if it is a online content, you can give the online references, or any journal site you have taken, that also can be given. And finally, you have to mention the remarks. Okay, with this only you are going to complete your lesson plan, right? So these all comes under the closing stage of your presentation, the fourth step of planning, lesson planning.